YouTube, what's up? I've been playing the Wind Druid for a few months now, and I wanted to compare the 3 different versions of this build. 99 FCR version, 163 FCR version, and the Hurricane version. I'll go over the gear and the Merc Setup used in each build, the stats and the skill points used, and then I will go through the Chaos Sanctuary on players 8 and compare the clear speeds as well as the boss clearing speeds for each one. Timestamps and links will be in the description below. Alright, I'll go over the build for the 99 first. First, using Heart of the Oak for the faster cast rate. A 5 NATO helm with a tier rune in it. A 210 Druid Ami. 35 FCR Spirit. Silkweed Boots for the extra mana and mana after kill. Stone and Jordan. Arachnid's Mesh. And another Stone and Jordan for a lot of extra mana. And then Frostburns for all the extra mana. And then Enigma in the armor. On swap, I have a 654 CTA and another Spirit. For a torch, I have a 1320 torch. A 2019-10 Annie. And then all elemental skillers. Some of them have life. Most of them are pretty much plain. And then at the end here, I have the Bone Break. For small charms, fire resist mostly, because that's what's lacking. So some life and fire resist, life and cold resist, faster hit recovery and res, faster hit recovery and fire res, and faster hit recovery and fire res. So here's my stats. Pretty much enough strength to wear the Monarch. And then you can see the res is like pretty good. Cyclone armor, you don't need to be maxed out on anything. And then with cure, poison doesn't have to be maxed out either. Tornado's doing good damage too. So this is hitting 105 FCR, so hitting that 99 breakpoint. Then for the Merc Setup, cure in the helm, just to get that cleansing aura and the faster hit recovery. Treachery for the increased attack speed and the faster hit recovery, plus the chance to proc fade and the cold res. And then we're using a Lawbringer for the level 18 Sanctuary. That's what knocks back the undead. 7 life leech on it as well. And then the chance to proc decrep. Last Wish for the Might Aura and Crushing Blow. For the skill tree, 1 point into Arctic Blast, max out Cyclone Armor, max out Twister, max out Tornado, and max out Hurricane. And then I have Armageddon just from the helm. Nothing into Shapeshift. And then 1 point into most of these, max out Oak Sage. And then all the extra points I'll have will go into Summon Direwolf. Alright, so gonna get all my summons up here. Takes a little while to boot up with this because you have a lot of the summons and you have to kind of battle order them afterwards. So once we get going here. So you can see this is the teleport speed for 99 FCR. Not too slow, not too fast. We'll start the timer here once I get into Chaos Sanctuary. So the tornadoes are actually doing some good damage. I think they're doing up to 7,000 damage. Again, this is only the 99 version. It helps to get very close to the enemies to make sure that it aims well because the tornadoes kind of go off on its own. Hurricane is a good supplemental damage, but it's not doing a whole lot. Because it is doing cold damage, and a lot of these guys are cold immune. So you can see the Barb does some decent damage running around. He's pretty quick. He's got a lot of crushing blow. But mostly we want him to proc the decrep to help the tornado damage. Sometimes he'll proc fade and life tap. You can see he's not faded yet. But he does give me a bunch of auras. So he gives me the Sanctuary Aura, which knock back the undead. You can see that they get knocked back there. So it helps the survivability of the Druid as you teleport around. You don't get hit as much. And then the Might Aura helps the damage from all of your summons. And then the Cleansing Aura helps with poison. Getting rid of poison and curses. So you can see that my poison res is really not good, but because I have a lot of life, it's not a huge deal. So yeah, 5,400 life. You can see that all the summons do pretty well at surviving in Players 8. I will say that this is not a meta build. This is not going to be a super fast clearing build, but can it do Players 8? You can see it here. It is doing Players 8. It's not the fastest, but as far as survivability goes, it seems pretty good. Druid is probably a very tanky build. with all the summons, it helps the druid survive. And then 1400 mana. I boosted the mana a lot, and I have a lot of mana after kill, because it does suck a lot of mana, this build. So I figured trying to get as much mana on the build as possible would help, since I don't have an insight on the mercenary to help regenerate mana. So you can see sometimes I do have to pot for mana reasons, but we're hopeful that the mana after kill helps out more often. So yeah, you want to get right up close to these enemies. And I'll cast Cyclone Armor every so often, and I'll reboost my Battle Orders every so often, but Cyclone Armor will block cold, fire, and lightning. So it's quite okay to be right up close. I know a lot of people would want to hit the 99 breakpoint for faster hit recovery, but I didn't feel like it was necessary, even on players 8. I didn't feel like I was ever getting into hit recovery moments, so I decided not to put a faster hit recovery jewel in the helm and put the mana after kill instead. Sometimes the Sanctuary Aura here is annoying because it'll push this guy out of the map, so you gotta be careful with that. I'm doing like a somewhat of a full clear. I'm not gonna clear every single monster, but just doing like the majority of the monsters and like what I would typically do for a Chaos run. Going on 4 minutes here. Again, this is no meta build. This is not your hammered in. This is not a mosaic, and it's not a Nova source. And this build is pretty much endgame. It's a level 97 with a 5 NATO helm and like mostly best in slot stuff. I think a 6 NATO helm might be better, but again, you're only getting a little bit more damage from there. The reason why this is not that fast at clearing is the Hurricane in this version is not that strong because it's doing cold damage and you're not doing Cold Sunder and you're not boosting any of the cold side. It's just a supplement. And then you're doing the mostly Tornado, which is physical, and the tornadoes are not very AoE. It's like very much targeted. So that's why the method is like Telly Stomp and get really close and try and blast tornadoes in front of them. So it's kind of like you got to hit each monster. These guys are kind of annoying. Flying off the screen. Yeah, very little risk of death. Have a very healthy life pool. A lot of summons to be meat shields for you, and then a very strong mercenary that's like almost never gonna die. So survivability on players 8 is quite good. Clear speeds are not that great. And so here's Diablo. And I put up the timer for the boss kill. We need a decrep proc to go off so that the tornadoes do the most amount of damage. There's the decrep, and then you can see then the damage goes away. So 19 seconds for this, and then 6 minutes and 55 seconds for the total time. Okay, so now we're doing the 163 breakpoint. Here's the stats page. So we're hitting 163. We're actually hitting 164, but 163 is the breakpoint that we need. Just enough strength, and there's my res. Skill tree is the same. So the difference is we're using a suicide branch for the 50 faster cast rate, a 219 AMI. It's only elemental, not all skills. And then we need 2 faster cast rate rings, so we got faster cast rate and some res on both of these. And then we do need faster cast rate gloves to hit that. Everything else is the same. So here we are starting from the beginning of Chaos Sanctuary. The teleport speeds are obviously faster, so it's better for getting places, but when you're teleporting around and killing monsters, it's about the same. So the tornadoes are doing less damage, obviously, because you are lacking some skills to hit the faster breakpoint, but because of the amount of tornadoes that you can cast, it actually does some decent damage. In my opinion, it's about close to the same. So there you can see decrep procced, which helps out the clear speeds. Again, same method. You got to get pretty close for all the tornadoes to hit. There's far less mana in this version, so the other one had 1400 mana. This has 700, and because of the faster cast, you are using up a lot of the mana very quickly. Survivability is about the same. The res is about the same, and then you still have over 5,000 life. It's not quite as high, but so you do have to use more mana pots in this. You could sacrifice and do a Act 2 mercenary with an insight to get unlimited mana, basically. But you would lose the decrep, which really helps with damage. Casting Armageddon helps a little bit, but the Armageddon level is not that high, so it's just kind of just a little bit of supplemental AoE damage. My life's getting a little low. Enigma does have life after kill, but because your life pool is pretty big, it doesn't make a huge dent. Got a lower res curse on me, but Cura should take care of that pretty quick. I feel like with this build, it could be just the summons, but I feel like I'm often amped up. Like, I feel like that amp damage curse is always on me. That's why I like having Cure on the Act 5 Merc. Even when I went with the Act 2 Mercenary, you kind of want Cure just to get rid of those curses. Endgame, a lot of my builds revolve around quality of life. I know you can amp up the damage and you're, you know, sucking pots and all that stuff, but I'd rather have a easier, enjoyable, better quality of life experience, even if it's slower. I think one thing that would make this build a whole lot better, and this is taking an idea from Diablo 4 actually, if the twisters or the tornadoes, instead of just going straight and in its own pattern that's kind of random, if the tornadoes would just orb around you once or twice and then disappear, that would be really cool, because then you could kind of like just launch them and they would just like spin around you and have like a sort of barrier and hit a few times. So here I'll add the timer for the boss kill. So overall the clear speed is looking faster, but because the damage is much less per tornado, the boss killing speed for the 163 breakpoint is slower. There's no decrep proc yet. There we go, right at the end. So yeah, if the decrep proc happened maybe earlier, maybe it'd be quicker, but 25 seconds and 6 minutes is the total time. And now here is the Hurricane version. So this uses a Doom for minus 48. I don't have a great roll on this, but minus 48 enemy cold resistance is pretty good. So this is a Nightwings with plus 20 cold and minus 5. We're still using the 219 Ami, 1 the Stone of Jordan, Arachnid's Mesh, and 1 faster cast rate ring that we need to hit the 99 breakpoint. And we are sticking with Trangs for the cold resistance as well, and Enigma. And then we have the Cold Sunder, Cold Rupture. So we're emphasizing the cold side of things and amping up the Hurricane part. Everything else is the same. Strength is basically 156 to land the Spirit. You can see my res is kind of not great. Cold is in the negative, and poison is really not great. Tornado damage is still pretty good, even with emphasizing Hurricane. Then for the Merc setup, we are using Cure for the cleansing aura, and then Chains of Honor for the +2 skills and the 8 life leech, and 65 all res, and then Infinity to further lower the resist of cold to amplify the cold part of the damage. And it's a Might Mercenary to help boost our summons. So we'll start the clock here. So everything turns blue because we are breaking cold immunities. Everything can be cold, and we have that Holy Freeze aura as well. So the Holy Freeze aura helps to keep the mercenary and you alive, just because it slows enemies. But as you can see already, just having the cold side of things boosted up kind of gives you a better AoE, because you don't have to aim with Hurricane. It's just orbing around you. So as you teleport, it'll do its cold damage. As long as it's in the radius of Hurricane, it's doing cold damage. So I think that this type of damage is a little bit more consistent. One, you don't have to aim. Plus you have a mercenary with Infinity to lower cold res. You have Doom that lowers cold res. And then you have Nightwings that boosts cold damage, as well as the Facet in there that lowers cold res. You could run with a Bone Break Sunder as well for the physical immunes, because there are some, and the cold takes a little bit of time. Already I'm feeling like this is going better. And this is players 8. But Hurricane is like a very relaxed playstyle on players 1 or lower players count. You can just have the Hurricane going and then just teleport, and basically in a second everything around you just pops. So it's kind of cool on players 1. So sometimes I go back and forth between the different Tornado builds or Wind Druid builds. Survivability is good. Again, with the Holy Freeze aura, it helps. Res is okay. Still have over 5,000 life. Mana is not as good as the 99 version, but because it takes less time to kill stuff, you use less mana. So yeah, that's significantly faster, in my opinion, so far. So yeah, it's going on like almost 5 minutes versus the other ones were 6. So it's a little bit faster, and then let's see about the boss killing speed. So there's going to be no decrep proc. It's just using Infinity and mostly cold. So this is actually doing pretty well. So there you go, 14 seconds. So overall, AoE speed is faster than both 99 and 163, and the boss killing speed is much faster than the others as well. So let me know what you think, and if you had any different results or build changes. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to do so below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.